I have personally really liked CBS News coverage of this whole thing. When I first saw that this guy let him into his house, gave him a coat, gave him a sandwich, had him sit on his couch, use his cell phone to call his mother. The guy said that he was calling his mom and going, "Mama, no, mama, mama, no, mama, mama." Darrell literally asked this guy, he said, "What's going on downtown? Is something going on down there?" And the guy said, "Well, there's a parade going on." And he's like, oh, that must be it, a parade. The news keeps saying that he was escaping a knife attack or he was escaping another incident and that this, they're insinuating that this was not intentional. Maybe that's true. I don't personally see how you could injure 60 people. 60 is the new number as of last night, as of 11:23. I don't see how that could be unintentional. But I think that this Ring camera footage is a real blessing to the prosecution of this guy because it shows us a few things. This Ring doorbell camera shows us a few things. It shows us, one, where he was mentally. He had the wherewithal to go to somebody's house, knock on the door, to lie, to go in, to be given a coat, a sandwich, to call his mother. He had the wherewithal to know that something happened downtown. If he was completely out of his mind, he wouldn't have even understood that something had even happened. You know what I mean? So this doorbell camera is pretty amazing that we have this. Now, my first reaction to seeing this guy, though, let him in was like, it's like watching a horror film and you're like, don't do it. Don't let him in. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And he does. And you're just like, how could you do this? And CBS was kind of funny. The news anchor said that this guy's been getting calls from his family. Like, what were you thinking, letting a stranger in your home? But the person who let him in is a man of faith. And he said that he had heard a sermon that morning. So the sermon he received that morning was specifically about helping people in need. So that was fresh in his mind from that morning. When this guy starts knocking on his door, obviously as a man of faith, he remembers the sermon and he lets him in and he helps him. Would he have helped him necessarily if he hadn't just heard that sermon? I don't know. Now, what's crazy about this whole thing, and I really want to make this video about, now what's crazy about this is that the man who let him inside of his house had no idea what had happened downtown. He was watching football. He was completely oblivious. When this guy knocks on his door and goes inside, he gives him his cell phone to call his mother, to call an Uber, some crazy story like that. So he's getting these alerts that say shelter in place, person on the loose, etc. And he doesn't see them. That's what he said. He didn't see them because he had his cell phone. Then, according to CBS News, he got antsy. Darrell Brooks, the suspect, got antsy. I shouldn't even call him the suspect, but you know what I mean. He got antsy when he saw the police circling outside of this guy's house. Now, I don't understand how the police were able to find him and kind of pinpoint him to this house. I'm sure that this information will come out, but maybe it was a GPS thing in the car. Maybe he had some sort of tracking device because he was already a felon and out on bail. There must have been some sort of way that they were tracking him to find him at this house. I'm not sure about that. But either way, the police get there. They start circling around. He starts acting weird. And that's when the homeowner said, look, I think that you should go. He started, feeling weird about him being in there. He was acting weird. He comes out on the front porch. It sounds like at some point he says that he forgot his ID inside of the house. So he's like yelling at the guy, I need my ID or something to that effect. And that's when the police come in and get him. So I'm going to play you a couple of videos. I'm going to play you this segment from CBS. Like I said, CBS has been doing an awesome job of covering this. And then I'm going to play the full Ring doorbell video. And then I'm going to talk about some other little signs. I like to call them like little signs from heaven. Something to feel a little bit, I'm trying to think of the right word, like something to feel a little bit like God is here and he always knows what's going on. That sort of a feeling. So if you're a person of faith, stick around until the end. And if you're not a person of faith, then I still think you'll find these videos interesting. So here's the coverage from CBS.
It's the suspect, but he doesn't know it's the suspect at the time, right? So he presses the Ring doorbell button, which activates a camera. So on the Ring doorbell video that we have, you see the suspect Mr. Brooks, in front of the home. Now, the man inside the home, who you're about to meet, Daniel, says he's looking outside. The guy's shivering. And he's like, hey, man, I'm homeless. Can you help me? So get this. Daniel says that earlier in the day, his mother told him about a sermon at church about how to help the homeless and why you should help the homeless.
I'm sorry. I got that wrong. His mother heard the sermon and told him about it, apparently.
So he said, David, I had this on my mind, helping homeless people. So here's this guy at my door, and he's saying, hey, man, I'm homeless. I called for an Uber. I'm waiting for it to come. Can you help me? Can you give me a place just to get warm? So he says, I opened my door, and I let him inside.
I'm sorry. Doesn't that just give you chills? It honestly gives me chills. That when terrible things happen in this world, there is always a trail of breadcrumbs from God. Always. Always. And things like this aren't coincidence. Maybe you think they are. Things like this don't happen.
So he says, I kind of look, and he doesn't look armed. He's kind of short. He's skinny. He goes, I kind of felt bad for him. Again, Daniel has no clue what just happened at the parade, okay? Because the suspect has ditched his vehicle and run here to Daniel's home. Daniel knows none of that. So Daniel opens the door, and there's a couch right on the side of the door. He says, I tell him to sit right there, okay? So he sits him down, and he gets him a sandwich. Then he gets him a coat. Then the guy asks to use his phone. So he's like, all right, fine, I'll let you use my phone. So he says, the suspect, who he just knows is some guy, who didn't give his name, by the way, calls his mother. And I said, well, what was he talking to his mom about? He said, I don't know. At some point I heard him say, no, mom. But he goes, I didn't want to eavesdrop on the call. So at some point,
I just have to say, this man, I would be eavesdropping so hard. I would literally be eavesdropping so hard. I would turn up that volume on that cell phone so that I could even hear the person on the other side. That's what I would do. But I'm a little eavesdropper, I guess.
Wait, after giving him a sandwich, a coat, and a phone call, he's getting a little kind of suspicious, so to speak. And he says he sees a cop car going back and forth in front of the house. And so he said, I told him, look, man, you got to go.
I personally firmly believe that you get these feelings, these gut feelings, and these gut feelings will come and they will go right at the right times. Like if you're a person of faith, I think you know what I'm talking about, those gut feelings that you get, that you're given. And I just think like the fact that his first initial gut feeling is to help him and he remembers the sermon and he brings him inside. And then and then he's overwhelmed with this other gut feeling of it's time for him to go. You know what I mean? It's like somebody was giving him these feelings of you need to let this man inside for a few minutes. You know, and maybe the whole point of that was to slow him down. Like he said in the interview, the homeowner was interviewed by CBS and he said, you know, I really think that, you know, maybe I did something good that I could slow him down for 10 or 15 minutes while the police caught up to him. 100%. I think that's exactly what had happened here. I think he was given this feeling of, you know, he chose this house for a reason. His mother heard that sermon for a reason. He knocks on the door. He gets a feeling, I've got to let him inside. You know, it's like somebody's talking to you, let him inside. You know, give him a sandwich, let him sit. We need 10 minutes here. We need 10 or 15 minutes. And after that happens, then the cop comes. Now he's caught up to him. And then he gets the feeling of it's time for him to go. It's time to open the door and let him go outside. And in those exact moments, everything aligned so perfectly for his arrest.
I'm going to finish the story in a moment, but right now I want to play a soundbite from the interview we did with Daniel a short time ago. This was the first interview he actually gave. Watch this.
I start getting real nervous. He's got a sandwich, and I feel like it, you know, it's nice enough to him, but I see a cop drive by, and that's me. I'm like, okay, man, you said your Uber would be here 3 minutes ago. I thought this would just be a quick thing. You got to leave. He's like, well, man, we're cool. I was like, no, we're not cool. You got to leave. And so then he does. He listens to me. He gets up, and you can see, if you have the footage, you see him walk out first. I open the door, walk him out. And then my neighbor right here says, are you guys looking for that guy? And I'm still oblivious to everything that happened. Keep in mind, this whole time, he's got my phone. So when I'm getting messages to shelter in place and there's a suspect on the loose, he's got the phone getting those messages. I am oblivious.
Wow.
So I had no idea anything was happening. The neighbor asks, do you know or have you been looking for the guy? I say, I don't know. This is probably him. That's all in the video. You can see on the Ring doorbell. And I say, can I have my phone, please? And he does. He gives me my phone back. And I say, can I have my coat back? And that's when the video cuts off in the Ring. But then I run inside, lock the door. The next video you guys probably have is at 5:11. And he's knocking on the door saying, hey, let me inside, my ID. And I say, you're not coming inside. And I start looking for his ID where he was sitting. And then not a few seconds later, the police got, shine a light on him. You've probably seen the footage saying, put your hands up, He does. He puts his hands up. But, yeah, I mean, that's what happened from my perspective.
Can you believe that? I mean, and in fact, when they actually carted the suspect off to jail, at that point, he didn't know who the guy was even still. He said he didn't learn until the next morning, actually on the news, that, oh, wait, that's the suspect. But again, I think if there were two things that were shocking about this interview,
Okay, I'm going to show you the full Ring doorbell now. I think, so the one that I saw was like, maybe it was this one. This might be it.
Hey, I called an Uber and I'm supposed to be waiting for it over here, but I don't know when it's coming. Can you call it for me, please? I'm homeless. I don't know. It's supposed to be him. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's my ID. My ID.
There's the cop. There's the policeman. I think. Or maybe that's a neighbor.
Whoa.
I think so. I think that was a neighbor.
126. Hey, do you know this guy? Absolutely not. Okay.
Again, that was the arrest video, or the moments leading up to the arrest of.
What? That's just crazy the way that those pieces fell into place. There are some other stories that are coming out just about there's stories that are coming out from people of faith about how stars aligned this day. And there's another story that has come out that I'm going to make another video on after this. So if you want to see the next video, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you're notified as soon as that second video comes up. But it's all about the sermon that this couple had in the morning before this man's wife was hit by the SUV. And this story is so heartwarming. And just when you start hearing these stories, because this was on a Sunday, so everybody had church Sunday morning, and you start hearing about the sermons that they received that morning, it just gives you chills. I think that, especially with stories like this, there's so, I've got a lot of Spartan blood in me. I always joke about this, but I'm Greek and I have a lot of Spartan blood. So I get very passionate about what's right and what's wrong. And I get very passionate about America and the systems. And, I want to see this country safe and I want to see this country do well. A lot of the videos that I make are me, talking about bills that are being passed or things like that, or news stories about the police and about incidents. And it's just because I'm passionate about it. And I think I'm going on a tangent now, but I think the whole point that I'm trying to make here is that there's so much negative stuff that we need to talk about that needs to be talked about. There's so much, content that is dark and is sad, but it has to be made and these things have to be spoken about. But at the same time, I am a huge person of faith, and I believe that in every ounce of darkness, there is eternal light. And I truly believe that in every tragic event that happens, like I said, there are breadcrumbs from God showing you, I'm here. I knew this would happen before it even happened. These series of events are all under my eye. I see it all. And he is there for the people who truly believe in him and reciprocate that love. And that's why I want to make a couple of videos just about, I don't want to say the good things because it's not good, but about the things that the people of faith are receiving. I guess I'll put it that way. I want to make videos about these messages and signs that people of faith who were involved in this tragedy are receiving. So that's going to be the next video, is about the couple and their Sunday experience before this happened. If you know of any other, stories like that faith-based stories, I would love to make an entire little series about that. So please comment below or reach out to somebody if you know somebody who is involved, if they have a story like that. And I will be sure to share it on this channel. And like I said, this is a new channel. This is a news channel. I'm going to be covering news stories. I'm going to be showing videos in full length that the mainstream media just shows snippets of. That's going to be the whole basis of this channel. It's very similar to the Gabby Petito videos that I made on my main channel. So check out my main channel if you haven't checked it out already. But it's more of like a home channel, and this is more of a news channel. Either way, I hope you join. I hope that you have a very blessed Thanksgiving, and I will see you in the next video.